All right, welcome to Let Me Put My Pants On, the podcast where pants are optional. My name's Katie Hinckley, and I'm here with
Jaleesa Johnson.
And I'm Brandon Potter.
And today we are interviewing the lovely Lydie Lovett, the mother clucker in chief at Chicken Rebel.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for being here.
So Chicken Rebel is an awesome...
Pants are optional, Liddy.
Oh, that's right.
Give me a minute.
Even Matt's not wearing pants.
Yeah.
Get her another glass of champagne.
Okay,
She'll be pantsless and sleepy by
Let
the
me get her
end of
another mimosa.
She is the owner and proprietor of Chicken Rebel, which is a huge Denver, Colorado thing, but it started here in San Diego, so we're going to get into that. But do we have anything that we want to start with Liddy?
Well, first of all, Chicken Rebel, she was rated #1 fried chicken in all of San Diego on Yelp. So there's that. I mean, she's been featured in the Union Tribune. Thrillist wrote this whole thing about her. She's been in The Eater. She's been auditioning for shit like Chopped.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Chopped!
I mean, her social media following. I wish I had her social media following. She can post anything and it just goes crazy. Especially like her Instagram and Facebook. I don't know how popular.
That's impressive.
Do you have a Twitter, Liddy?
It's all about the hashtags.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hashtags are important.
No Twitter yet, but I'm open to suggestions.
I like that because you could always just transfer your Instagram to Twitter. I think that's an easy way to just get it started, but hell yeah. Why am I giving you tips? I should be learning from you.
I think we are a food business, so what we like to do is take pictures of the food, and generally that's what gets people salivating.
It always
over
gets
the
me
sandwiches.
going, yeah. Honestly, you pop up on my Facebook timeline like every day, and I never regret it. Like, I'm never going to unfollow you.
You say that now.
Well, hey, I love it.
I think I took 3 different pictures of the sandwich I had yesterday because I was like, I need to post this. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, what it's like being a female entrepreneur. I know sometimes when people call me a female comedian, I'm like, oh, you don't have to say that, but it does play a role, I guess, since we're digging into it. Like, the story of Chicken Rebel, the idea of being a rebel, just how amazing your food is. Like,
sure. Well, I must say it has helped my success in many ways. In fact, in Denver, I operate as a food truck with various other food trucks at this kind of food truck pod collective.
Oh.
And I think the great thing about that is that all the trucks are run by women. And I think it's, I think it's a selling point for the food truck collective itself. And there's something about being supportive of other female entrepreneurs and working really hard, and we certainly don't just hire females.
It just worked out that way. Yeah.
Everybody that works for me are men, and I kind of like it that way.
You're the boss. Yeah.
Yes.
Down with the patriarchy.
But I think it certainly helped the story. I mean, most of the kitchens that I've worked in, as my background is as a general manager for various restaurants here in San Diego, and I found that a lot of these restaurants were failing, and one of the only ways to help them succeed was actually being in the kitchen, because the kitchen is the heart of any restaurant.
That's so true. Yeah.
But in every kitchen, it was primarily male dominated.
So weird. Yeah, I noticed that even today.
There's that stereotype though that like women should be at home cleaning and in the kitchen, doing the cooking. But it's like men can't let women be the best at anything, not even cooking like that. Like,
do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. No,
doesn't that piss you off?
Perpetuated that.
I'm a gay man though. I'm an ally.
Gay men are no different.
I like that.
Men are men and they all suck.
I like seeing strong women though. Like, why aren't there more like strong female chefs? Like, it's just weird that it's a dominated field when there's been that stereotype that women are the ones that are supposed to do the cooking.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's men in a kitchen have a certain rapport with each other, and I think there's a defined line between front of house and back of house, and I think generally they like to keep that separated, whereas I think for a restaurant to be successful, it should all be blended together. And I hope one day when I have a restaurant, everybody knows how to do everything.
A little melting pot.
Work as a team. But I've had chefs in kitchens come up to me and tell me, you don't know how to cook. And I say, I know I don't, but it needs to happen.
Right.
In my perspective, my background's actually in theater.
Oh.
And I think that's actually helped me in all my business endeavors. Because when I'm thinking about making a plate of food, I'm not thinking about from a chef's perspective. I'm not thinking, oh, I need to throw microgreens on this and make it super fancy. I'm thinking, what does the customer want to eat?
Exactly.
What would I want to eat? What would my grandmother make? And so that's my approach to food and cooking, and I think it's why I've been so successful.
That's what's up.
Because the food is amazing. It's really like the best fried chicken. Everyone that's tried it, it's
honestly, yeah.
I was going to say, because like I love cooking personally. I grew up cooking with my dad, and my mom was not the cook of the family. My dad was, and when I really got into it, I was always joking like, yeah, I'm a feminist, but I'm one of those women who belong in the kitchen because I love cooking and I'm good at it. But I'm not classically trained either. Like, I just like making people feel good and making the right kind of food for people to just feel at home.
Comforting,
comfort. Even if it's healthy or not. Like, I do like presentation, but that's not the focus of my food. My focus of my food is...
the feelings.
Feelings and stuff. And
damn.
When I always worked in restaurants, I was pretty much always front of house because I couldn't get into back of house.
Thank you. Yeah, they would never let me go back.
I wanted to, yeah.
And so, and the only girls you ever saw like on the line were like making soups or desserts, and it's just like, I mean, that's fucking awesome too, but it's also like, fucking hey, dude, like I just want to get on the grill and fuck some shit up.
And Brandon touched on that a little bit too. I love the comparison you made there, where women are stereotypically or historically, quote unquote, supposed to be in the kitchen, but then if you get really good at being in the kitchen, you can't make a living. You got to stay at home and do it for free. It's like, no, man, make that money. That's why I love what you're doing. You're making a killing, I would imagine, more than I make on anything. Like, it's just, you are doing what you love, and you're actually like sustaining it and growing it, and that's impressive.
Well, we're always hiring.
Hey.
What's the comedy scene like in Denver?
Oh, that's a good question. There's actually a restaurant that opened, or it's open, that's near where I operate, and they're called Rebel Restaurant.
What?
And every Monday they do a comedy night, and they're the coolest place. They're like inventive food.
We're gonna be cooler.
Oh
yeah, and it's really cool. So they do comedy, and they actually do chicken wings, and we get a lot of people actually go to Rebel Restaurant thinking it's Chicken Rebel because they come up on like all the.
I would sue them.
You have
searches
so many
and stuff.
comedian friends. You know how you could take them out of business. Right?
Yeah,
we could
dude.
just end that
We'll
right
take
now.
over that business.
If I brought all you
Just add
guys down
chicken
there.
to
I will
it.
come every month.
Yeah.
Just to Denver.
We'll be the
just to do
house
that.
comics.
Well, I think you guys are in a challenging field too, because essentially you're working for yourself, and there's those parameters that come with that. Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of comparisons that you can make, and sometimes to be successful, you have to like. Not only to be funny, you have to have a certain look. You have to have like,
absolutely.
If you're, especially if you're a female comic, you have to be really attractive and funny.
It's crazy,
and there's this weird social ramifications behind it. So
I can't wear shorts on stage. Apparently, I've been doing comedy for 4 years, and I just learned this.
There's a whole book about it.
Is this why I haven't gotten ahead in comedy? Because I've been wearing shorts on
It
stage.
might,
Julie?
honestly.
God damn it!
But I love that you mentioned the hustle comparison, because that's important too. Like, it's one thing to hustle as an artist, whether you're in the kitchen or on stage, but it's another thing to hustle as a female. Like, no offense, Brandon, of course you're an ally and you have your own gay struggles. I feel you, man.
Thank you.
But for women, like, yeah, they will introduce us as like, like an object. Like, we're known as like an accessory to the event. We're not the main event. And so the fact that you and these other female chefs are pulling together, like, that is so powerful.
Well, I'll
dude.
tell you this. So I have men that work for me, these two guys, and they're great. But every customer, when they're taking orders, not every customer, but a lot of customers will always call them the boss, and they'll refer to them as boss. And we've had Yelp reviews where they talk about, the guy's running the truck.
Oh.
And I'm just standing there, covered in flour.
Right?
You
Like,
know,
hey, like, what am I, chopping?
Yeah, and it happens all the time. And I think people just make the assumption that
Come on.
I'm
in
not
charge.
I'm not the owner. And
So disrespectful.
I don't know. My work ethic is, I think one of the reasons why I've been so successful is that I am not standing back there wearing a blazer with
You're
a clipboard. I'm in it.
Yeah.
I've pretty much made every sandwich, and only recently have I allowed the truck to operate without me on it.
Of course, the woman is in charge. If there's two men in that truck, it's gotta be one of those
Right?
men.
And part of it's because I have control issues, but we can talk about that later.
We're all human. That's what I love about
It's also
this.
the quality. I mean, it's like, it's your product, it's your baby, essentially, and so you want to make it, the best thing it can be.
Absolutely.
And, I always say that our food is a combination of science and love. The behind the scenes is really scientific, and in terms of how long we brine the chicken for and how long we sous vide it. So sous videing, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. It's a French technique, and I always have to, I always feel bad if I don't to explain it to people.
Go for it,
people act
yeah.
like they know what it is, and they often don't.
I'll light it, yeah. Tell me.
Do you want to tell me?
No, I'll make something up.
I was gonna say, I know it involves like hot water. That's about it.
It sounds French. It sounds fancy. But it's a technique that we've been using since the beginning. And basically
Of time?
Yes,
Thank you,
Brandon.
Brandon.
But we
Oh, the beginning of chicken roll. Okay, got
yes.
it.
And I learned it in a restaurant that I worked for in the kitchen. And basically, it's a device that heats water at the lowest possible temp for the longest time that you can cook chicken. So we vacuum seal all the chicken, and then we cook it in this water bath. And that's even before it hits the fryer. And so if we don't do everything exactly to a science, then it's not gonna be
It's not gonna be
perfect.
it's not gonna be Chicken Rebel.
Yeah, and so
I'm so wet right now.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
It's simmering in my loins.
Can a person be sous vide? That sounds sexy.
a lot of things can. But so far, I've only done chicken, and it's a process. I mean, there's been times in the middle of the night I've had to come home from working about 14 hours and stand there and brine chicken overnight and sous vide it. And I'm like crying because I'm just so exhausted. And I still have those days, but it's all worth it because then you get that customer that has a repeat customer. We had a few of them last night at the event that we did. You get those customers that come in and you
don't
want
disappoint them.
Yeah, you're doing it for them because if you give them a product that they've been coming for years to experience and it's not that, then you've lost that customer.
Wow.
Cry, dude.
You got like it's a cult following. That's amazing.
That's what you want. It's what you deserve. Honestly, I was going to ask how many years, because when people think about comedy, like in terms of the hustle, we think about years. So like anyone that's under like 7 years probably hasn't made a breakthrough yet. But how many years have you been doing this?
We just had our 3rd-year anniversary yesterday.
What? You're killing it, dude. You're a prodigy.
Here in San Diego, we were thinking about doing it in Denver, but then that just didn't make sense because, so basically I was a food stand in San Diego for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then what happened is the laws changed in San Diego, so they said you can't be a food stand operating at breweries, which is primarily where we went to serve customers.
It's a good base.
So they said that we had to have a food truck. And so I couldn't afford a food truck here in California. They run about $60,000. So it just kind of made sense to go to Denver. And actually, the initial plan was to go to Denver for a month and then go to Austin and then come back to San Diego.
Oh, that'd be so good.
So we were kind of thinking of it as just sort of an adventure and just a way to kind of get the product out there.
Absolutely.
So we made the move, and I got to Denver on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, I found a place to live. On Thursday, I bought a food truck. On Friday, I booked our permanent spot where we've been ever since.
Because San Diego's a beautiful place, so Denver must be. I've heard amazing things about Denver. Like, you obviously love it, right?
Yeah, she hates it.
What? Do you?
I experienced snow for the first time about 3 days ago.
I knew that's what would change your tune about Denver, the snow.
I get
I've told everyone, as soon as it starts snowing, Lily's going to be miserable. She's going to be visiting San Diego a lot more.
But your customer base there is so, like, I see these people, like, they love your shit out there.
Honestly, our slowest day in Denver has been the equivalent of our busiest day here. So if that gives you an idea of volume.
That's insane.
Even last night, I mean, a lot of people came out, but it wasn't nearly as busy as a typical Thursday in Denver.
We're foodies in San Diego. Of course, we have so much delicious food here. Of course, something like beautiful. I mean, you're the number one fried chickens in San Diego. Of course, you're going to be like the best in Denver. So that's amazing.
Here.
But I am just in San Diego. I was just a food stand, and not that that's not a big thing, but I'm competing with huge restaurants and huge marketing teams, and I am still a small fry.
It's just the beginning, though. Isn't that equally exciting as it is scary?
I'm just salty because we miss you in San Diego.
I appreciate that. Well, I'm looking for investors, so I'd love to open up a San Diego location. If anyone's
shout out, yeah.
Shout out to people with money. Do you like fried chicken? Get it done.
I don't think any of our listeners have money.
You know what? I wouldn't be so sure. Here's the thing. The Let Me Put My Pants On podcast, we haven't really gotten into it, but so far with all the guests we've had, they've been very similar to you in the sense that they're all this like Cinderella story with their own unique like art craft and industry, and they have their own base. And I think by the end of it, when we actually start getting these going, you're gonna see a lot of different people listening to this podcast. Like,
True.
The only thing that's like, aside from that's similar is that we're not wearing pants. That's pretty much it. That's like all we. Yeah, it's honestly been
Fuck
a really.
pants.
I'm done with pants.
It's been a fun mixture of I think topics, and this is one of my favorites because like. Entrepreneurship is so hard. Small business owning, dude. It's known to fail. That's the stereotype.
If I don't want to wear pants on stage, I shouldn't have to.
No, man.
What's wrong with shorts?
I believe in you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the fellow food truck people in Denver, because when you're a small business, you meet a lot of fellow people that run other businesses, and they sort of have this reaction to me like, oh my gosh, you have it so easy. You showed up here. You've been successful right out the bat.
They don't see
There's a little bit of jealousy, and they don't understand how hard I work to get here.
Guys, stop being salty to Lydie. Like, you heard the story. She hustled, man. You hustle so hard. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say because I know that the house that we're recording at was the house that you used to live in, and this is
Let's not
where
talk
you...
about that.
Well, this
This is our subject.
We'll cut this out.
This is where you started. This is where you like really got together the idea, and like was it something that you just wanted to make? Like, did you want to make a fried chicken restaurant, or where was the beginning of that idea? Like, where did you start with your move forward?
I'm glad you mentioned actually the house and living here, because this really actually was where it really originated, the idea. And I had a roommate named Leah actually who gave me $1,000 to start my business, which doesn't seem like a lot.
That's a lot.
But
to just give someone for their dream.
I mean, that was able to help me purchase like the canopy that we used for the first gig, the fryer.
Oh my goodness.
All the fees that we had to pay.
Thank you, Leah. Yeah.
I remember, not to interrupt you, but I remember, this because we were living together and Leah was here and you trying out frying chicken in the kitchen and we were like taste testing different things.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Well, I remember coming back from gigs and like the first few times like Brandon and I think Kirk would like help me like carry the coolers, and then they started to realize that could become a regular thing. So they just back out. They just sort of stopped.
I'm out.
I ain't doing this every Tuesday.
I mean, it makes complete sense that he believes in you, but in the beginning, like the way that Brandon described his like experience of seeing you start here and where you are now, like it inspires me, like just through hearsay, like, and now it all comes together, like you really are an inspiration,
right?
dude.
But it's also helps to live with a bunch of people that are doing their own thing, creating, and it's artists.
It's stimulating.
It's just following your passions, which I love being around creative people, whatever it is, whether it's theater, like you've been involved in.
But, so I mean, Chicken Rebels started that year. I was actually fired from 2 jobs, and I've never been fired before, actually, in my professional life. In my personal life, I'm fired all the time.
It was a big deal for you.
Thanks for firing me, Mom. But so it kind of actually was the best thing that ever happened, because after that second job, a month later, I started Chicken Rebel, and I had a lot of ideas, and I'm sure Brandon heard a lot of bad ones and some good ones. And I really did. I put them in. I put all my ideas in a jar, and I picked out fried chicken sandwich. I didn't know what the name was gonna be, and I told myself no matter what idea I picked, I was gonna run with that, because
that's amazing.
I have a tendency to start ideas and not finish them, and so that is really why I'm sitting here today.
That's gonna
So you literally pulled it out of a hat.
My one dream in life is just to be sitting in like a factory coming up with ideas for people, because I have so many
Lydie, I want to suck your dick. Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know that. I want to suck her dick.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of artists can relate to that. My head is full of ideas, empty ideas, and the fact that you manifested a physical representation and said, I don't give a fuck, whichever one, it's going to be great. I'm going to do it.
But it came out of desperation, too, because I didn't have any income coming in, and I felt like a failure, because I worked for 2 restaurants that were starting out that needed help, and I thought I could save them. I thought I could help.
And you felt like you failed them.
And I felt like I failed them, and those restaurants ended up closing anyway.
So it kind of, in a sense, was. That's the thing about, and I'm sure you obviously can relate to this with art. It's like right when you want to give up, it's usually the moment right before you have a breakthrough. Like before you got to that point where you were fired, I'm sure you had a different dream. You probably dreamed and I'm just assuming obviously, but of like helping these restaurants come up, and that was going to be your career, and then like it just
or being on Broadway,
right? I mean, oh, dude, yes, so I can talk about that too. But like, I feel like you just take life by the balls, and you're like, I believe in me, I believe in everything that I love, and I have an interest in, and I'm just going to manifest it while I'm here. I'm just going to do as much as I can and not sit on my ass and wait for these.
But I needed to work for those failing restaurants so that I could understand why restaurants fail and what to do differently
and how to not suck.
Important,
like talk about the ultimate revenge, like being fired from a loser restaurant and they go out of business. What a bunch of losers.
And the funny thing is, all these
and then you go and create your own successful business while you're on unemployment. Like, fuck those guys.
Amazing.
And all these restaurants.
How great is that? That's the ultimate revenge.
Yeah, it's like the owners have a lot of money. But honestly, that's not what makes a restaurant successful.
It's the passion, it's the dedication, it's the work ethic, and you have all of that.
And actually, when people say to me, like, because I've had a lot of people approach me to be business partners, and I always ask them, like, what's your motivation to do this business? Yeah. And they always say, not all of them, but I've had people say to me, like, well, I want to make money, I want to be rich. And
it's a good question,
actually, I think that's the surefire way to fail.
Absolutely.
It's never been about the money.
Even finance. If you're interested in stock, I get that money seems like it would be the obvious motivation, but something drags you to stock. It's something else. There's usually some other, the thrill of the chase, oh, I want to get bigger and bigger. I want power. I mean, money is power, but I feel like there's always something deeper.
To me, like, money is a way to, like, grow the brand and, like, grow the product and honestly try to give back to, like, the employees that have really worked really hard for me. And that's a huge part of why I do this, because from working in kitchens, I love the idea of taking someone who's, like, a dishwasher and helping them turn their life around and cultivate that and make them, the head chef.
That's amazing.
And give them what somebody gave me, So that's
seriously,
that's the real inspiration. It's not about the money.
I love
it's about the passion.
My philosophy on money has always been, they just keep printing more.
It's true.
It's true.
I remember like working especially for small business restaurants. I worked for the sandwich shop locally here in San Diego, and they're really popular. And they're really good, and everything is the same thing. Everything's made in house, and it's very, it was very much the like, it's not about making money, it's about making great food that people will enjoy and people will talk about.
Legacy, right?
And people will people went there, like, it was a sandwich shop, and people went there for their birthdays because that was like their favorite food. And like, that's always the environment that I wanted to get into, like when I wanted, because I've always wanted to open a restaurant myself, but I've just never had like an idea of what to run with it. And like,
pull an idea out of her hat.
There you go. Yeah, get that magical jar.
Do you have any ideas for this podcast?
Yeah, right. For my life.
Where's that jar?
And honestly, like, it would be so awesome for you to open in San Diego, because I would absolutely love to work with you, because it's like the food that I had yesterday. I had one of her sandwiches for the first time yesterday, which I was real salty about initially, because I was like, make me some fried chicken, woman. But when I finally had it yesterday, I was like freaking blown away. I was like, no wonder everyone loves this food. Like, the batter was so good, and it was spicy, and it was sweet, and it wasn't too thick, and it was crunchy, and it was everything that I've ever wanted in fried chicken. I didn't even know that I wanted, but I did.
And it's hard to just...
She doesn't even talk about Matt that
way. Ouch. It's hard to describe, like, where our food fits in regionally. And I do think it's very world inspired. I've obviously lived in a few places. I'm originally from the UK. I grew up with a British grandmother who cooked all the time. And so, that was a way to kind of bring the family together.
Absolutely.
And, it's funny because I was a little overweight as a child, but yet she would tell me I needed to lose weight, but then cook these giant meals of, like,
making you plump.
Macaroni, cheese, and not fried chicken because we're in England, but very heavy things. And then coming over here, we lived in San Diego, and then we lived in Atlanta for a couple of years, and that's kind of where I learned a lot about eating.
Honestly, the South, man.
It's true. And just being in that kind of, it's more about the feeling than, the food itself. And it's funny because a lot of articles that have been written about Chicken Rebel and myself always say the owner grew up in the South,
which is not true.
Hardly true.
You had experiences in the South. You lived.
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely picked up what you needed to.
And more recently this year, I actually did a tour through the South. I call it my Eat My Way Through the South. I should have added not wear pants. But,
in parentheses,
yes. And so we went to, actually took my mom, and we went to, because I didn't have any friends, we went to New Orleans, we went to Atlanta, we went to Memphis, Charleston, and so
all the major spots,
I really got a lot of variety, and it was really cool to see like how soul food is cooked versus other types of things, and it was really interesting, and I mean I definitely think our chicken is very different, and the toppings make it different as well.
Right.
We don't have like a heavy coleslaw in our classic. It's a very light, tangy.
I've never been big on coleslaw myself, which is why I love what you're doing. You're bringing, because I'm born in the South, born and raised, and you're bringing what I love about chicken, and then you're taking. Because you're pushing aside elements from what I can see that I never cared for. Like, because I always wanted to be in California. So I was like a Southern girl that wanted to be on the West Coast. And your chicken is like the perfect combination.
Right?
Honestly.
You are the chicken sandwich.
Seriously, I love it so much. Just the idea, like, it's just... I've never been big on like the crazy fatty elements and the extra the coleslaw, which I never really ate it, and so like you get right to the good stuff. You're like, I know,
because all our sauces are made in house, and our chicken is organic. It doesn't feel as heavy. It doesn't feel and then we do have tater tots, which I think as I grow the business, we're going to offer other things. Like,
absolutely,
sweet potato fries, and salads, and things like that.
Give them what they want.
But the tots, honestly. In terms of like a business model and like making enough money to support our business, the tots have been killer.
Absolutely. I still love tots. I can't. It's so heavy, but I can't deny my love for tots.
Sure, and they're easy to make. We don't make our own tots, which is a question people stupidly ask sometimes.
It's just a frozen potato. Like,
it's actually a lot of work.
Are you supposed to buy fresh potatoes, grind them up, and then freeze them?
Good question.
It's just
who does that work?
What difference does it
I've never
make?
had bad tots. I'll tell you that. So whenever I see tots on a menu, I'm always going to buy them. Right. So like, it really doesn't matter to me how you make them.
Well,
the chicken
nostalgic,
is exactly, very cafeteria, school lunchy, but delicious.
The buffalo. Shout out to the buffalo tots, which are my favorite. It's
what?
got a blue.
I know you missed out.
Yeah.
We had a few people that were like enraged. Well, enraged is a strong word, but last night about not having
half
tater tots.
Half of it's all about the tots. We haven't even talked about. Let's talk about tots. We haven't even talked about tots.
Tits for tots, Brandon.
Tits for tots. Okay.
I love it.
Well, first of all, the buffalo tots. She starts off with like a basket of tots, and you put the blue cheese dressing, the buffalo sauce, this like a celery and bacon.
Oh my god!
It's kind of like getting a buffalo wing in
orgasm.
I could eat them every day. I want some right now. I'm so hungry now.
They're surprisingly good. And actually, that menu item, I didn't even taste it for the first month. I only put it on the menu because we had a buffalo sandwich, which is actually my favorite sandwich.
But it didn't sell that well?
Well, no. Because what we try to do is, so if we have toppings that are on the sandwiches, we try to put them on the top, so there's a crossover.
Ooh, yeah.
More recently, and you'll be happy about this, we've started tater tots in Denver that are kind of like the animal-style fries that you get at In-N-Out.
So the Thousand Island dressing,
caramelized onions and the American cheese, and they are amazing. So that's our next...
Okay, Katie just came. We'll have to take a break.
Maybe there is a God, you guys.
Seriously?
Maybe there's something to this God stuff. I don't know.
Honestly, it's simply because we're homesick and we miss San Diego. So we've been trying to like do tachos. We've tried to incorporate which I think is kind of, incorporating that California style. Like people really gravitate towards that.
I love it. Yeah.
And I must tell you, like the best thing I hear in Denver is somebody coming up to the truck and they say, somebody in San Diego told me to come to you guys.
Wow.
And it's like that feeling of like somebody back home sending their friends in Denver to come visit us.
That's gotta feel good.
Yeah.
Denver's cool, and I can see why you would do well in Denver, but we do miss you in San Diego.
We need to do a joint Chicken Rebel comedy show. Me, you, Katie, Matt. We could do a podcast there. I'm sorry, I'm thinking ahead.
Yeah,
just like, we need to make these worlds merge, man.
Yes.
What are we waiting for?
Comedy, fried chicken, beer.
What more could you ask
comedy.
for?
Yeah.
We will kill that scene.
Me and Lydie we were always we were trying to, when she was like killing it here at the breweries here, we almost like started somewhere like a Cornell or something, like a craft comedy night.
Really? Okay, so it's already been kind of in the so many great ideas. Like
we're gonna
you
do
mentioned,
that one day.
they start off in the pseudo grind. Like you start off at a point where you know I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it. Like I haven't taken that big leap. And so I love how when you look back, the biggest events in my life at least have always been like thought over for years. You really start that beginning process years before you actually you know, bring it to fruition.
Well, I love event planning, and actually one of the things we're going to do for Halloween in Denver, and I'm sad that you guys are going to miss this, is we're actually collaborating with Voodoo Donuts, which is originally based out of Portland, but they have a location in Denver.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Voodoo Donuts, but they do crazy toppings, and there's lines, and it's very Halloween-y, so we want to do a fried chicken sandwich in a donut.
And it's on the day, it's on Halloween?
Yes,
it
actually will be on Halloween.
Man, what?
So it's really
exciting. We can try to figure something out. That sounds
I know,
cool.
right?
That sounds really cool.
I'll fly you guys out there.
Dude,
Yeah,
I'm serious.
I swear to God.
Take me.
We'll work this
I
out
have
after
Monday
the
and
podcast.
Tuesday off. That's Eve and Eve. It's Eve's and
Yes.
Eve.
Can you fit in carry-on?
We're not wearing pants.
Yeah, like
I'm not
we gotta
working
pack
the entire weekend.
Whatever.
You'll have a
Unless
hard
wear a
time
long
sending me
trench
back
coat.
home.
No judgment there.
So
I like the theater background. We didn't really talk about that.
That's kind of where
it's a soft spot for me.
All the topics kind of came up organically.
Absolutely,
So
and I love that.
which is cool.
Brandon knows about my theater background because I'm very dramatic, and us living together, there was a lot of drama.
Well, most people in this house can relate to that. We're all pretty dramatic.
I mean, what I love about Lydie is, you know those people that love drama, but they like try to deny it or lie about it. We wear it on our sleeves. Like, we like we like drama in our lives, good or bad.
Yeah, I like drama where I know I'm gonna be okay in the end. Like, I don't want to be the victim of the altercation. I want to be the.
It's exciting.
Sure,
it keeps us stimulated. We're never bored.
Exactly. How early did you get into it? Were you like theater and elementary?
You know, I grew up really shy, like painfully shy, and theater. I mean, this sounds like one of those generic answers, but like it really was an outlet for me. But I was in a play in the 6th grade. Tom Sawyer. It's kind of weird. And my teachers told my mom, they're like, this kid needs to be in theater. Like, this is what's gonna like make her break out of her shell.
Absolutely.
And so then I just kind of started pretty early on.
And you liked it early on, I'm guessing.
I loved it. And I went to school for theater, to college for theater.
No way.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I've always been jealous of people that went to school for theater. I wish I did.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love it, but it can, like, honestly, sometimes I find theater people a little bit
much.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
But you're the very chill version, though, right?
Extra as fuck. Like, it's if you
you walk into class and everyone's breaking out into song.
I believe it.
If you don't live and breathe and speak and
it's a different language.
For every living moment of theater, like, you're not a real theater kid.
Yeah.
But I love watching it. I've never been a really great actor. I'll be one of the people that probably does cameos.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you want to do theater like later in life a little bit?
It's always been my passion, but the thing about it does require a lot of dedication, and sometimes not with a big return. But that's fine.
Nature.
But like I said, it did teach me a lot about running a business, and I think for me, like, going to school and having to work at the same time was really challenging.
Oh yeah.
And I've always found myself struggling between wanting to be in school and like get the degree.
Right.
But then also thinking, do I really need this
the degree
to be successful?
And you don't when you're doing what you're doing. Yeah. So I guess for a while you were just trying to figure out well, what do I want to do?
Yeah, and I mean, I had my first job when I was 14 years old. Because,
early bloomer,
no, not because I wanted to, but because
family.
Yeah, well, my mom was a single mom, so she had 3 kids, and
work ethic. There you go.
Yeah. And when my parents split up, she didn't have a job. She didn't have any skills, and she had 3 children
Damn.
and no support. We didn't.
And she made it work, though.
She did
Look
make
at
it
you.
work. Yeah. But I always say that, I mean, it really contributed to where I am today, because we used to live by the beach, you know, in like $1 million home, and we went from that to being on welfare.
Oh no!
And so that changes your perception of money, and also changes your work ethic.
Damn, you hustle. You were like, I can't do this anymore.
I had to. We all had to survive.
Yeah.
But you know, I watched my mom. She went to school. She went back to school. She went to law school.
Wow.
And she started her own business.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to Lydia's mom, Mrs. Lovett. Is
well,
that?
Yeah. You know her quite
Ms.
well.
Oh, that's right. I wear your robe, Mrs. Lovett.
Well, Lovett is my father's name, but yeah, no, she'll love
get
that.
the message.
Yeah. She'll get it. No, but I mean, it's pretty inspirational, and you know, I learned from a young age. I kind of always had this mentality that, you know, if I want something, I really have to work hard.
I love that. It's got to be real.
It's not
you got to feel
gonna be
that
handed
fire
to you.
Exactly. So many people just they have ideas that are great. I think just really great ideas, but they don't have that fire. So it's
People
nothing.
are scared to take the risk.
They
know,
are.
And they're just going through monotonous motions. But,
Just going through life, just saying one day, maybe someday, but you don't believe in that.
Well, people have like a sense of entitlement, and I will say, other than acting, growing up, I was never told I was good at anything, and I don't know if it's a British thing.
Wow.
But I was
Assholes.
never, yeah, I know, right? I was never told like, oh, you're so talented or this or that, and so I always grew up trying to prove
Find something
or work
that you were
hard.
good at.
Yeah, and I still feel that way. I mean, I know you guys are talking like highly about my fried chicken, but
It shows that you have that mentality of
Yeah.
I'm never satisfied.
I still think it's even, you know, you said you had the sandwich last night, and I love that you love it and you're raving about it, but even I'm like, no, it wasn't perfect enough. You know what I mean?
And only you would know that, but that's what makes the
and
difference.
that's why we can relate to you, because like us as comics, when we might, like, you might say like, oh, that was like your best set. Like, we're thinking like, I could have said this better. Or I forgot to say this. Like, we're never good enough in our minds.
The grind and the idea of standards is very similar with, because it's an art. What you're doing is an art. Being a business, you know, person is an art, but also specifically the craft you're doing. Food. It goes in people's mouths.
Yeah.
They're very
Art.
particular.
And that's the way to think about it. It's not,
My mouth
it's
is
not
her
about the dollar.
canvas.
I'm glad we have that on recording.
I love it.
Yeah, as someone who grew up with a lot of cooking too, like my dad was really serious about like cooking, and like we always tested out ideas with each other, and we watched a lot of like Good Eats and Chopped and things like that, and we like whenever we cooked dinner for each other, it was always like, oh my god, this is so good. Well, you know, like I could have done this better. And then me and my dad started doing comedy together when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So like it was kind of the same thing. Like we would cook for each other and then we'd go and do comedy together. And I was like, oh, Dad, like you killed that joke. Awesome. And he's like, yeah, but I forgot this. And I'm like, I was always like, Dad, like you're the best dad ever. Like, what are you talking about?
We're always
like,
our biggest critic, and that's usually what makes us better. You can't wait for someone else to hype you up or tell you what to do next. You need to believe it, like see it in yourself, and that's something that I think you got down. You're like, I see my vision, and it's always changing and always getting better, but we only see the result. We only see after the vision is manifested. We're like, damn, Lydie, you're killing it. You're like, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, the real way for me to be successful, or anybody to be successful, I think, is for me to find people to do the jobs that I can't do.
Right.
And I think, you know, that from a business perspective, I think I have this passion and I love being in the kitchen and cooking, and I'm very creative. But sometimes I'm just working too many hours to be able to build
very
the
simple
business.
things. If you want someone on the factory line, you can use my.
And that's my goal actually for next year, is to start to step away from the truck and build the business. And there's a couple of things we're working on.
Because you did everything.
Yeah, I mean,
and I know you. You don't like people cooking the chicken.
You paid your
like,
dues, and you're training
Sure.
well. So it's the natural course of a successful
and you
business.
have to be able to train well. And
Oh, I was just going to say, you were mentioning before about getting the dishwasher up to head chef and thing. And I think that's a huge, huge thing with smaller local businesses is that if you promote from within, like you're going to have people who not only are good, but they trust you. And you are giving them this option of this future to like build something great with them. It's not just about you. It's about how they feel. And I think that's one of the reasons I think you're going to be so much more successful is because you legitimately care about your employees.
Everywhere she goes, she's empowering the community.
Yeah.
She's
You're like
building
Chance the
people
Rapper
up.
for chicken.
wow.
You got gotta Google him. He does a lot for the community. He's a rapper.
Thank you.
Liddy?
I don't know what
He
rap
won some
music
Emmys.
is.
He's great. He works with a lot of like Kanye West and Beyonce. You like him.
Liddy let me work for her after I got out of jail and lost my job.
You brought him back on his feet.
Liddy got me back on my feet, and like Liddy would let me work for her, and she'd feed me.
We had a new sandwich we wanted to call the Jailbird.
Yeah.
Honestly, sandwiches named after Brandon never sold.
It was
you remember the hot mess?
All my favorite sandwiches never sold. Damn it!
But it was a thought that counts. You're a businesswoman. You gotta make the tough
You gotta
decisions.
take chances.
But you know she cared about you.
Yeah.
She tried.
I was always a risk.
But we have a few exciting things kind of in the works. In Denver, we're going to be at this place called Avanti, which is kind of like it's kind of a food truck collective. There's a place here called Liberty Public Market, which I think is kind of similar.
I was going to mention that earlier when I talked about the co-op thing.
Yeah, and so that's going to be huge for us because it's we're going to have an actual kitchen. We won't have a whole restaurant. We'll still be a food vendor with a few other food vendors. But the fact that we even got offered this is
that's huge.
a game changer.
Is it like a permanent kitchen where it's like your... Like,
it's our own kitchen.
It's a lot like Liberty
space.
Public Market. Where
it's exactly like
exactly
that.
like that.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Dude, congrats.
So and we'll keep the truck. And then the other thing I'm working on is I'm trying, and you guys might be excited about this because I don't know who's an alcoholic here, but we're working on a...
we all raise our hands.
We want to do a whiskey bar that happens to have really great fried chicken in the kitchen. So it's more of a sit down.
Yeah.
It's a fancier place. It's not sandwiches. It's like full plates where you get the whole bird, but it's brined in a very gourmet fashion.
Liddy, don't forget about me. Don't forget about the little people, man. Because honestly, the moves you're making are so practical, but also so difficult, and you're killing it. You're actually like what it takes.
Yeah. And I think I can't see, a bar not working.
Exactly. It's so practical.
Yeah. But, the combination of, there's kind of I don't know, the contradiction between whiskey and fried chicken, they kind of go hand in hand.
Delicious.
I would imagine alcohol and chicken, I'm not a big, alcohol connoisseur, but I would imagine whiskey and chicken are just fine.
You're going on a date with somebody, and you're like, let's go get an old-fashioned, which is really trendy now for some reason. Well, it always is. It's never going out of fashion.
Old-fashioned with fried chicken.
Old-fashioned with fried chicken. I think it's a win-win.
I was going to say I forgot where I was, but I had this fried chicken once. It was like a bourbon
battered,
bourbon brine type
Mm-hmm.
thing. I'm not really sure what it was, but it had bourbon delicious. And it was like maple bourbon thing, and that's that sweet and bitter thing, which I think is why people like old fashions.
Oh yeah.
You could
sip it slowly too.
You just savor all of it.
That one of the things that people really started falling in love with Liddy for Chicken Rebel was you always
Are you in love with me, Brandon?
I was gonna say I thought it was that beautiful face.
We haven't talked about how hot Liddy is.
I haven't even taken off my pants.
Look, I'm trying to be a gentleman. I don't want to objectify it.
We'll post the picture. They'll know.
Never mind.
But even before the breweries, when you were at the little farmers markets on the blocks in the neighborhoods that were really slow, you were still using local beer in San Diego. But then when you moved to the breweries, it's almost like each chicken sandwich was always unique. Depending on which brewery you were at, you would use their I don't know.
So we usually use like a Pilsner or lager. So last night we used the Seacoast Pilsner from the Coronado Brewing Company, and they've been really supportive of us from the beginning. In fact, we had our first brewery gig there, and also our last in San Diego, which you attended.
Not forever.
Not forever.
But for this last
before the
period.
move.
Yeah, so it's pretty humbling, and they've been really supportive. And I got actually a text from the manager there, and he said, we're so proud of you here, and San Diego. It means a lot, and so they supplied our beer last
San
night.
Diego loves you.
Yeah, Coronado.
I love you.
Coronado Brewery especially is, I think, one of the better breweries in San Diego, just because they are so supportive of local businesses. I did pop-up food stuff with the sandwich shop I formerly worked at with them, and I love being there because their beer is, one, super freaking good, and two, they're local, so they want to help.
They care just as much as you do, and a lot of people will tell us no. We see it in comedy. I'm sorry, they'll just tell us no, just out of nature. They don't get what we're doing or respect us or believe in us, but like finding those people that say yes and not just yes, but hell yes, like that's what it's all about. And it takes like 50 no's to get there sometimes, but it's worth
that's
it.
the worst thing that can happen to you is somebody saying no. And so once you know that, and my dad sort of taught me that, it's like they can either say yes or no, so it doesn't hurt to ask.
Right. You already know what can happen, the two outcomes.
It was a huge thing for me too.
I think that was like one of the fun things about Chicken Rebel, and like what really got you some traction is like following you would be at all these different breweries, and the taste, I don't know, was it subtle? Is there that much of a taste when it fries? But it was pretty much, I mean, a different beer every time we
That's amazing.
went to. So that was cool. That was fun
People
for
love
me.
customizing things in 2017. They want to feel like everything is personal, right?
And, you know, I didn't know Denver was such a big beer town, and it's huge. Not as huge as here, but it's getting there. I mean, breweries are popping up like crazy, so there's definitely a scene. So it's
craft brewery it's been on the incline for like 3 years.
Yeah, sure.
I think with a lot of, and this is going to take probably a slightly weird turn, but like with the political climate that a lot of us have grown up in, smaller, local craft stuff has become so much more important to people.
Right.
And I think that's part of the reason why local stuff like your startup business is so good to like spread it around, because
it's a lifestyle. We believe in you.
Yeah. Like San Diego is one of the capitals of microbreweries, and I know Denver and Portland and Seattle are all breaching into that.
We feel like we have a connection, a personal connection with you specifically.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, we don't have a personal connection with like Walmart.
Right? Yeah. And I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
And that's because we not only get to know you as a person, we get to know you as how you express yourself through what you're putting out. And it's the same thing with breweries. Like I've taken brewery tours because I've worked at restaurants, and the breweries were going to be supporting those restaurants. So we went in and we got to meet the beer makers, like the brewers, and
see
we got
the whole process.
And they care so much about like the accuracy of things and making sure it's something that people.
And it does make a difference. And you know, for a while, you know, like I said earlier, that people are always not thinking I'm the owner, and I think part of that had to do with my own shyness and actually not presenting myself that way.
But have you felt like that's changed too?
I feel like I've overcome that. You know, we had a really big article come out right when we got to Denver from this publication called Westward, which everybody reads apparently, but I didn't know.
Because you're still new.
Yeah. So, you know, before I went to Denver, I just wrote them and I was like, oh, just random like people at different publications. I'm like, oh yeah, we're coming to Denver, just because I was like, we're gonna fail and I need to get some kind of publication.
It's a numbers game. Yeah.
It was a huge article, and the way that they wrote it was brilliant, because they said Chicken Rebel in Denver for the month of July only, which was actually true at the time, because we were going to go to Denver and then Austin. We were like, oh, let's go to Denver. Austin was like our main goal, because
that would have been huge too. Yeah, but I love that you decided to stay. It's interesting.
Yeah, but that article, I mean, our first gig we sold out in an hour.
Holy shit!
We had
an hour.
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, like, the only when you go through her reviews, whether it's Yelp, the only like bad reviews is like the way
sold out,
and it's like you can't help it. Like you're one person.
That's a good problem
there's only
to
so
have.
many fryers.
We had this guy. We call him. His name is Travis. Fuck you,
Shout
Travis.
out to Travis.
On Facebook, he was like, they're never prepared. They never have enough food. We haven't been able to eat. And this guy got on and like started trolling Travis. And so we want to like have Chicken Rebel shirts that say Chicken Rebel and then like hashtag fuck you Travis or something.
I will rock the hell out of that, dude. Yeah.
Everyone on Facebook, like all of my other customers, like just people in general, just like hated on him, you know,
because he doesn't understand. Like I get that it's also still a good like publicity thing for you, because you're so popular, you're selling out. But someone like him, who's probably a late stoner,
and people like we were saying earlier, I mean, you work a 12-hour, 14-hour day. You're coming home after, you know, selling out, and then you can't go to sleep. You got to start brining your chicken for the next gig.
Well, people don't understand that, and I think as a life lesson, we should all have to work in the industry in some way.
Yes.
Because I get people coming up to the truck, and they'll be like, oh, how long is the wait time? And it will be like 20 minutes, and they'll just be
Lose
so
their mind.
upset about it. And I'm like,
what do you
You don't
expect,
even
dude?
know that the chicken's
Do you want to change your life?
Like,
do you want the best chicken of your life? Like,
at a restaurant they would wait anyway. So like acting like it's like 20 minutes is so Like,
and
they see it coming.
We're very limited by our capacity on even on a food truck. Not like the food stand, but like we don't have the same kind of like things that a full scale restaurant has.
Of course. So even more so, you would expect a little wait time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I think is a newer trend coming out, because food trucks are so much more accessible than like opening your own restaurant, which a lot of people are jumping into, which I love seeing, because it's
absolutely,
it's created so many different niche foods. You know, you've got your fried chicken sandwiches. I've seen like Thai food trucks, and I've seen all these different food trucks that are just trying to like secure that convenience, that weirdness, that uniqueness, and that will get you sold.
I always say to like people that are trying to start food trucks and that are interested, and like I get a lot of people asking me for advice and stuff, is keep your menu really simple and keep the quality really good.
Yeah,
that's what Gordon Ramsay says.
Yeah. Great minds think alike.
British.
It's a British thing.
It's a British thing. No, but it's so true. You see these menus that are just so
elaborate
and confusing.
So many options.
And you know, we're lucky because we have a product that people already have a connection with.
Yeah.
So we're next to a truck in Denver, a Puerto Rican truck.
Yeah.
And you know, they have a beautiful story, and like there are these two girls running it, and they're so sweet, and like, but they don't market. They have a confusing menu. Like, I don't know what half of it is.
And it really doesn't
I'm not going to order it.
Exactly, because you just don't know if you're going to like all the different things they have. You got to find something that works for you, and you got to... I am a very picky eater, but that means I'll eat the same thing almost every day. Sure. And I think people, they want that. They don't want to think about what am I going to have today. They want to know what they're getting.
Well, you don't want it to be like a buffet. Like, you don't want a truck... Like, there's a truck that has seafood and pork, and I'm like, that just makes me feel sick. You know? Because I'm like... something must not be right. Like,
what do you sell more of? The pork? Like, what's sitting around more, the seafood or the pork?
Yeah,
something's got worms.
Your mind up. And I will say, like, I think one of the great things we have is we have a veggie version of the fried chicken sandwich. And you know, I think it's really cool to be able to have that as an option. And we've been selling a lot of them.
See, you're throwing them a little bone, but you're staying true to yourself. I love that.
How did you come up with the name Chicken Rebel?
So I kind of had to think of something that was clever, but also recognizable, so that people knew that we were a chicken business. You know, because I was a little bit worried about having chicken in the name, just because, you know, I kind of read that a lot of restaurants with animals in the name aren't necessarily that successful.
Okay.
But that's, you know, it's market research, and it's not necessarily true all the time.
But it's interesting, yeah. Something to think about.
And I love that David Bowie song, Rebel Rebel, so that helped a little bit.
Oh, and then he passed.
But so you know, it was kind of like a combination of things, and I still have a piece of paper where I have all these names, like, I don't know, like Chook and Bird something, Bird Call, Bird this.
I'm so glad you decided on Chicken Rebel.
You know, the Messy Beast, you know, just a bunch of funny things.
Really did brainstorm for this. You didn't just pull it out of your ass. I love that.
And so, you know, I think Chicken Rebel really works because sometimes people have their own interpretations of it, and I think they work as well. It's like art, right?
Yeah.
But it really is, you know, the way that a burger has been, you know, a typical burger, hamburger, you know, when it first came out, it was just a patty of meat, maybe some cheese on a bun, you know, but think about how much people have elevated the burger. And so I wanted to do what people have done with a burger. I wanted to apply that to the fried chicken sandwich in particular.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, you can go to 7-Eleven and get $1 fried chicken sandwich.
Fuck that shit.
You're doing it with the veggie burgers too, though. I mean,
sure.
I know people that go to you just for a veggie sandwich.
Vegetarians flock to us.
Nice.
So
flock.
Thank you.
I love it.
So I want to give that option because I know that a lot of people have friends that are vegetarians that maybe they don't particularly like, but they have to hang out with.
Right.
They need to eat too.
We all got them.
Just kidding. Ish. But yes, so it's basically a spicy mock chicken patty that we use our own beer batter for, and it looks like a delicious fried chicken sandwich.
She only started this sandwich because she was dating a vegetarian at the time.
Love is inspiring.
Yeah. It's true. And actually, the person I was dating said, "If you start this business, I will break up with you."
Well,
and they did
shout
eventually.
That stupid bitch.
And and she also also said that I should make all the sandwiches vegetarian, and that's what makes us a rebel, because we're pretending.
Why didn't she start a business?
Actually, kind of brilliant.
It is.
I have the idea. You do all the work.
It's not what I wanted.
You can actually, you can kind of piggyback on that and say, hey, I'll have that option.
Right,
Yeah.
but to kind of like touch on the dating thing, it is hard to actually have a personal life and run your own business.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't understand the dedication that it takes and the hours, and they think, oh, it's so glamorous, you work on a food truck, it's so easy.
Oh, so inspiring.
I want to come work for you, but then they're standing there covered in grease and flour and cleaning.
It's a struggle. It's a real dedication.
Dealing with crazy weather and customers, and they're like, how do you do this?
If it's not their dream, it just can't be done by them. Yeah.
So I certainly have lost a few people that I've dated.
Sacrifices.
But
Moment of silence for the fallen.
It's so dramatic. But when I'm big and successful, I think,
honestly, I think they'll all look back and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm glad you chose your own path," because there's no guarantee their path would have worked out.
Yeah.
But
No, and it's really cool. There were a lot of people that turned out last night, like from my past, and it's cool to have people that maybe at some point were a little bit pessimistic,
but now they're like, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah. But I always say, like, if you can't, I don't know if this is the right quote, but if you can't have me like my Destiny's Child, you can't get me at my Beyonce.
Yes. Thank you. You'll sell them a chicken. You'll be friendly, but these people
don't
can't
act like they're my best friend.
Exactly. It's the struggle of the success, man.
The struggle of the success, and I was gonna say, like, people, trying to like rekindle the past because all of a sudden you have all this, success and whatever. But like, what about, people for the future, or the ideas for the future? Like, how can we connect with you?
Some ride or dies you got in your life right now.
Yeah, and it means the world to me to have like people like Brandon, who from the beginning, when I wasn't successful, have been supportive and have been wearing my hat and promoting the brand, and like that says everything, because it's not always the most glamorous thing.
It's not.
We don't have the time, but I can tell you some pretty crazy stories.
Some horror stories,
fire burns and it raining and outside.
That's
you
like
know,
90%
wires
of it.
catching on fire. And
That's your
happening.
equivalent of bombing on stage. It's your equivalent of like all the adversities you go with. You don't post those on Facebook. Why would we? So people only see the highlights.
Don't see that,
Yeah, but they still appreciate the highlights, and because they appreciate the highlights, they should definitely know the lowlights and know that it's not that easy.
No, and I definitely like appreciate the team, and it is, I say we, and I, even though it is my business, I think there is a collectiveness of people that have really helped me, whether they're my employees or just supporters, or, if you hashtag Chicken Rebel on Instagram,
so helpful.
You get all these people that have just been to so many gigs.
It's insane.
Pictures.
Hashtag Chicken Rebel, guys.
What's the future of Chicken Rebel? When are you coming back to, like, how are you, do you think you're always going to have a presence in Denver now? Like, you did start off temporary. Do you have any intentions of coming back to San Diego in some way or another anytime soon?
Right now I'm really trying to work on the Chicken Rebel brand. I think the product is there. I think it's good. I don't think we need to change it up or mix it up too much, and just keep things original and authentic. I want to grow the business. Probably try to open up a flagship location in Denver, like a physical location, and then from there I'll have the capital to open up a location in San Diego. Because to be quite frank with you, economically, it's a lot cheaper, more feasible to open up a business in Denver than it is here.
Definitely.
The regulations are really hard. Even having a food truck here is almost impossible.
Yeah, well, it doesn't snow here, so
back and forth though. That's a good plan, because you have that base here.
But you need bad weather so you can appreciate
the good
stuff. And that might be an analogy.
Ooh.
Gene. So I know we're running little on time here, but so how do people here and in Denver get in contact with you, or at least follow you and get that salivation?
Social media,
going?
What you got? You got Instagram.
Here, I got it right here. Lydie, it's been great having you today. I think we're all out of time. If you want to find Lydie and check out Chicken Rebel, she's in Denver right now. You just missed her in San Diego, but you can catch her in Denver. Look her up on her website, which is chickenrebelcluck.com.
Yes.
Chickenrebelcluck.com. Check her out on Instagram, just Chicken Rebel, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken Rebel. And then her Facebook is at Chicken Rebel Cluck.
Right.
So, yeah, easy to find.
You just type that in the search bar.
Chicken
Facebook
Rebel.
makes it so easy. They've been so hacked. I mean, at this point, it's like
Sure, and we plan on doing more pop-ups with success yesterday here in San Diego. We went to a bar called Small Bar. That's a great beer bar institution here, and we want to continue.
We love Small Bar.
Yeah,
I'm there a lot.
I love them too. Let's go maybe after this.
Yeah.
I love the sign that they have by the register, though, that says, "We support women, Black lives."
I've never been inside. I'm
High
like, what?
value.
I know. It's stupid.
They got the
you weren't there
Nazi
last
sign
night,
with
that's for sure. I
the
wasn't there.
red
So sorry.
X over it. It's just, they love everybody.
Let's go.
I'm stoked.
I think Dave is working right now.
Yeah, I think he is too. So,
But what I'm saying is we want to continue to do the pop-ups. So just stay on our social media, and we'll try to make it happen. And we really enjoy it, and we're very thankful for all the supporters that have.
yes,
that have
and honestly, the pictures are sploosh worthy.
I can't
very
wait.
Good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where this goes. Like,
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lidie, so much for being
Yes,
awesome.
thanks for having me.
Awesome
This is great.
participant.
You're an
Thank you guys,
inspiration.
fellow hosts, for being
Aw,
awesome with
thank
great
you, Katie.
questions. Oh, what? Thank you. No, thank
I'll put
you.
my pants on now.
Put my pants
No, I'm
on.
taking my pants off. Thanks, guys. Have a
you.
great day.
That's it for episode 2 of Let Me Put My Pants On. I'm your producer, Matt McCoy. Your hosts are Brandon Potter, Jaleesa Johnson, and Katie Hinckley. Your guest today was Lydie Lovett, owner and proprietor of Chicken Rebel. You can find out more about Lydie's food by visiting chickenrebelcluck.com and at Chicken Rebel on Facebook and Instagram. If you enjoyed the show, we'd love it if you leave us a rating and review in iTunes. It really is the best way to grow this show. If you don't know what to write, we'd love it if you submitted your review in the form of a shitty poem. Let Me Put My Pants On is recorded in sunny University Heights, San Diego. Join us every Wednesday right here for more topical interviews and discussions. We'll see you next week.